Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to start the show off, Benson, since we're just doing this over the YouTube thing. Is that cool? Benson?
Yeah.
Is that cool? Can you hear me?
Can you hear us, Al?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Benson, can you
Goes.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so that's
Can
cool.
you
I'll
hear
just
me?
start. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you weren't responding, so I was just I was wondering what was going on.
I think me and Hal both thought that you were talking to the other one.
Oh, sorry,
That's true.
Benson.
Yeah.
So, Benson, I'm just going to start the show. Is that cool?
Okay. I'm
All right,
good.
all right, all right. Sorry, we're a little rusty here because this is only the second time we've recorded in like I don't know. We're the hiatus is over officially,
Yeah.
so this is good. All right. Welcome to another episode of Matt and Brendo's Wrestling Show. I'm Brendan Creasy,
I'm Matt Benson.
and we have our guest Hal Lublin is back with us. Hal, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming
for
back.
being back.
Sure.
So what have you been up to? It sounds like you've been pretty busy with your various podcasts.
Yes. I've been a guest on as many podcasts as will have me, and Thrill the Adventure Hour. We're winding down to our last monthly show in LA. That's going to be in April,
Cool.
and so we've got some exciting announcements coming up soon, and I'm also going to be hitting the road with the Welcome to Night Vale folks and doing some of the shows on their live tour, especially the one in Philadelphia, which is my hometown. So I'm
Awesome.
very excited.
Awesome. Now, this is the part of the show where, since we've relaunched the Matt and Brendo's wrestling show as Matt and Brendo, are on the road to WrestleMania 31. Are you going to get a chance to attend?
Oh, I wish I thought about it. I really thought hard about getting tickets, but I'm not going to be there live. I will be watching at home.
Cool. So, what are your just before we go down our discussion of Fastlane? What are your how are you feeling currently about the WWE? Just so I can get a gauge, because it's a very mixed world out there right now.
I think it's look. I don't think they're at one of their creative peaks, booking wise or just general storyline wise.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like every fan, I think there are guys who are being overutilized and underutilized. But I think this is the time of year where things pick up, and that was the thing about Fastlane for me. I know we're not getting into it just yet, but it felt like a lot of it was just sort of setting the table for
Hmm.
WrestleMania rather than it being a standalone show that builds excitement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought they were gonna be a little bit different, because I feel like in the previous years it was Elimination Chamber, and that was specifically setting up WrestleMania. I guess we just have to. That's just how it is. The pay-per-view before WrestleMania is basically a commercial for WrestleMania.
Sure.
Basically, I think, and I guess that's just the way it is. Except now there's no longer the Elimination Chamber. Although I think it was a good decision, because the Elimination Chamber last year wasn't very good at all. But a
Right.
lot of that was
I don't remember it being good for a few years, to be honest. When was the last
I,
really good
I,
one?
I didn't watch. I mean, last year was the first one I watched in a long time, because
Yeah.
I didn't really get back into wrestling until right before WrestleMania 29.
Mm,
That was my re-entry.
yeah.
But I felt like it's too much. You know that nothing huge is going to happen, because they have, by the time that pay-per-view is there, like WrestleMania is pretty much set. And like they're already, if like nothing totally drastic is going to happen, because they've been setting up the WrestleMania storylines since Royal Rumble. It's almost like that, this, if there's going to be a pay-per-view that they should drop, it would be the one right before WrestleMania, to kind of help would you agree like that maybe that would help build that anticipation to WrestleMania? I don't know. That's something I thought about the other day.
I mean, I think that that's a valid point. I do think there was a time, and it's kind of unfair to compare anything to the Attitude Era because it kind of
Yeah.
stands on its own island, just the same
Yeah.
way that the Hulkamania era did, and then that sort of, excuse me, early '90s period. But I remember in 2000 and 2001 the No Way Out pay-per-views, which was the February pay-per-view at that time. 2001 in particular. Uh, you knew that the main event of WrestleMania was going to be Rock Austin, the rematch, and they'd been building to that for months. Probably most notably the 6-man Hell in the Cell from Armageddon in 2000. But that card had a really great main event with Rock Angle, where they moved the title over to the Rock, and it had the blow off of the Triple H Austin feud. So it felt like they were getting closure on other things while building towards that show. And this year feels like we all knew it was going to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns most likely, or maybe a triple threat.
Yeah, I was worried about a triple threat as we talked about last episode.
Yeah, but it feels like a lot of the card is coming together really quickly. Like they're gonna save
that's
Miz
true.
and
That's
Miz
true.
now. A lot of stuff is just sort of getting thrown in, and that feels like a shame.
Yeah, because I get that they do that a lot for other. That's what I'm saying. For other pay-per-views, I get it. There's 4 weeks to prepare, so sometimes things get thrown in at the very last minute. But for WrestleMania, I feel like they're like I mean, again, like you can't go back and compare, but it just seems like common sense to me that WrestleMania, these should be feuds that have been going on longer than 3 weeks. It's WrestleMania, and again, I don't know what it's like. I can't imagine what that must be like for the WWE writers when you have to write 12 pay-per-views a year. You have to write 2 weekly shows. There's so much more. That's why you can't compare it to, especially to it's like people try to be like, oh, it's not like the old days, and like, yeah, because the old days they were writing for 4 pay-per-views a year, and it was just a completely different model. But
4 pay-per-views here in what, 2 hours a week, as opposed to however
well,
many.
I mean, when I was a kid, it was a completely different model. The only reason the TV shows existed were to sell the pay-per-views. I mean, that was when you were lucky if you got a name versus a name on TV. That was a big deal. None of that happened. None of the world as we know it didn't really exist until the Monday night shows happened, because before that you were getting jobber matches and a whole lot of guys telling you either buy tickets to the pay-per-view or buy tickets to your local arena show. So it's totally different now, and there's so much. That's where it's just this double-edged sword where now that Raw is 3 hours, it'll never not be 3 hours, because now that would be so much money that they're losing if they go back to 2 hours. Now but then that's where things like the network, that's where NXT is cool, because it can be an hour show. They're not relying on advertising, and I hope it stays at an hour because it makes you want to watch next week. Whereas with Raw, like they're stretching everything possible. I don't know. Now I sound like the internet.
Well, you are the internet. You're podcasting.
True, we're a podcast on the internet.
That is very true.
And I don't
Can I
want
do a quick sidebar about No Way Out, by the way?
Yeah.
Just because Hal brought it up a while ago. When I was a kid, my parents had the Kevin Costner movie No Way Out on VHS, and I would always see it, and I would always want it to be 1 year of the pay-per-view. And of course, it never was. It's a VHS. It doesn't change. But it was just a consistent source of disappointment in my young life, seeing that VHS on the shelf all the time. Sorry, I just want to do that.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, getting young Matt Benson's hopes up constantly.
Yeah.
Well, so let's. I mean, nothing. Let's see. So Benson and I are going to be. I just wanted to plug this again real quick. Benson and I are going to be up at We'll probably do another episode between now and WrestleMania to actually talk about the WrestleMania card once it's finalized. Because I guess, Hal, you brought up a good point. We are like 30 days outside of WrestleMania, and the card is speculation. There's only like 2 announced matches.
Mm-hmm.
That there is something to be. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
There's 2 announced matches, but there's a lot of, I would think.
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
matches.
there's a lot of assumed matches, but that's where, again, like it feels.
You shouldn't have to assume.
It feels like it shouldn't be that way. Because I just remember. I just talked about how we can't compare it to when we were a kid, but as a kid, like you knew what was going to be on that pay-per-view, like way like even when they switched to monthly pay-per-views, I feel like the feuds lasted longer and there were more of them, but I feel like they're trying to do more things. But you have to watch to watch feuds happening, you have to watch every show. You have to watch Main Event, which I don't know what happened. I think there must have been some kind of dispute with Hulu, but Main Event is no longer live on the WWE Network on Tuesdays, and it's now published on Hulu only. I mean, they publish it on on the network, but it's like a week later. So I think Hulu was probably like, hey, wait, we were contracted for this show. Now you're putting it on your own network too. Wait a minute. It seems to me like WWE did not forgot completely when they invented the network that they already had a contract with Hulu. Because that's why there's not. Because I remember very clearly in the advertisements it was the night after you're going to be able to watch Raw. Like there was going to be a 24-hour delay. And that immediately went away because Hulu's like, hey guys, hey
that's exactly our deal.
we have a deal with you. So I guess now they're just gonna wait for their Hulu contracts to run out before they can. I don't know, but Main Event, they've been doing some a lot of stuff on it. Like for instance, the Lucha Dragons from NXT have been on the last 2 Main Event shows. The Primetime Players teamed up together on Main Event.
Yeah, and then they showed up randomly on Raw, just like to find out how. Watch Main Event.
Yeah.
It took me back.
Yeah, they.
Darren Young's a different person since the last time he was on TV too. It's crazy. He's like twice as big in the beard.
He has been off TV for like a year.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why. I mean, I get taking somebody off TV, but they took Darren Young off TV with no explanation, and Titus turned on him, and then he was just gone.
Was he hurt? Maybe was that?
I think he was hurt. I think at some point in there might have been an injury, but I think they kind of Zack Rydered him a little bit.
There was a rumor going around for a while that he was the bunny in.
Yeah,
I heard that, but after watching it, I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube comparing different. I'm pretty sure that it was different people at certain points because there was a couple times where I'm almost positive it was Justin Gabriel, because when he did the splash, that was Justin Gabriel's splash. But then there's other times where I'm pretty sure it was Sami Zayn.
Right.
Just based on his mannerisms. But I think originally it seemed like the plan was going to be that it was going to be Darren Young because originally the bunny was going after Titus.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point they just decided not to do that. And
yeah, it feels like they dropped it now.
I don't know what
a small scale anonymous Raw GM situation.
Oh, we gotta get somebody that was a writer because I just want to know how does that happen? When it seemed like for a while they had a serious storyline going on with a bunny and then it was just Bunny's gone, no more Bunny, and now they've been doing this storyline where I guess it's a storyline where the Rosebuds are not they're feuding with Adam Rose, but then. Yeah. Sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. I don't understand what's going on with the Rosebuds.
Yeah, he just never got over with the crowd, and I think they've just not lazy booking, but how much time are they going to spend on that version of the character before they just say, this isn't working, we need to repackage him?
I feel like that moment's got to be happening really soon if it hasn't already.
Yeah.
And I think with these storylines too, it's because they're just constantly doing stories. They don't really have time to test things out, really. So I think a lot of these things are just them testing out the story, and then that's why they get dropped because they didn't work. I think that's probably what happened with the Buddy.
But there's too many there's too many for them to not have I feel like there's no excuse not to have a story for every match, and there's just so many Raws where I'm like, why is there this random match? You got too much.
They have 3 hours to fill. They got nothing left, Brendo. They got nothing in the tank.
I guess and now you got this whole there's a movement happening with the divas. There's like a hashtag give divas a chance.
Yes.
There was speaking of that, I don't know if you guys saw it. So Stephanie McMahon tweeted in response to it was Patricia Arquette's Oscars. She's tweeted, "Thank you, Patricia Arquette, for supporting equal pay for women." And then AJ Lee promptly replied to Stephanie McMahon saying, "Hey, the women in your own organization make a small percentage of what the men make, even though they sell just as much, if not more, merchandise, and their matches are sometimes the highest rated segments on Raw. So yeah, what's up with that?" And you could tell that there probably was a moment where I could just imagine this scenario where Stephanie McMahon was ready to just murder AJ Lee, and then somebody had to talk her down. Maybe it was Hunter. Maybe it was her dad, and then the response is just, "Thank you, AJ. We will take that into consideration."
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Well, and Vince used the hashtag too. He used the give people the chance.
And he said, "Stay tuned." So I don't know what that means. On Main Event, it meant that there was another 2-minute Paige and Emma match against the Bellas. So.
Yeah, on Raw we had a 2-minute tag team Bellas versus Paige and Emma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, what do they do with the Divas? Because right now it's just a commercial for Total Divas. They're barely even wrestling.
Yeah, it's a shame because they have a lot of talent in that division, and even the Bellas have improved significantly. Nikki,
I've been trying to tell this to Matt, but he doesn't believe it.
No, Nikki is
improved. I think Nikki still has a ways to go.
Nikki's a pretty strong heel, though. She plays that role well, and she continues to improve in the ring. But I mean, again, how good is she going to get as a wrestler when you're giving her 2-minute matches?
Yeah.
And they're not even,
And the announcers aren't even putting them over. They're talking about a TV show the whole time, or they're talking about, or basically I don't know. Every time I try and tell people that the WWE has gotten a lot more progressive since the 90s or the 80s, then one of my friends will watch a Divas match and be like, "What are you talking about?" Because it's just this woman's crazy and this woman's crazy and they're all crazy.
Yeah, that's their go-to angle for every diva is they're crazy.
And the book
and
it makes me worried because they have some amazing, and then they have the women's division in NXT is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm just are they just gonna ruin all of these girls? Because I mean, having watched NXT for the last couple of years, because I started watching NXT along with when I got back in, just because it was on Hulu, and watching Bayley and Charlotte, they have improved in leaps and bounds, and now they're some of the best female wrestlers out there. And now there's a rumor that Charlotte's going to be involved in a WrestleMania Divas match, which again, that WrestleMania Divas match, what is that going to be? That's the bathroom break, right? That's how that's how they're going to treat it.
Yeah. And I think this is the kind of thing where you see where this is something where Lucha Underground or I mean TNA I feel had a chance but kind of blew it to kind of grab an audience because they actually are treating women's wrestling seriously.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's really great to watch when you see
for
that.
example, I just watched. I'm a week behind on Lucha Underground, but Evil East wrestled that dude from South Africa, Angelico, and
Yeah,
it was like a real match. It was
yeah,
awesome. It reminded me of like a Candice LeRae match, and
yeah.
I'm like, okay, so these guys are doing this right. Like that's how you book women's wrestling, and it's not a joke. Because if you treat it like a joke, people are gonna respond as if it's a joke, and that's kind of the hole that WWE has dug themselves in, and I don't know how they're gonna dig themselves out of it. What do you guys think?
It's just gonna take time and the right booking, like it did before. I mean, even even when the women were more prominently featured in the late '90s, it took a while before the actual wrestlers like Lita and Trish Stratus and Molly Holly and Victoria, Jazz, like all those women came and made it a legit division and
Hmm.
made the most out of the time they had until you have Trish Stratus and Lita main eventing a Raw. It could happen again, and they have the talent to do it now.
Yeah.
They
Um,
have a talent, but do they have the interest? Because I think Total Diva seems to be doing fine. They're
mhm.
they, I mean, it's only now that fans have started making any kind of real organized response to say that they want more women's wrestling treated more seriously. So I mean,
Well, I
it,
think we're at the point where WWE can't ignore it.
No.
yeah,
I mean, look, look at the Intercontinental title and sort of how that's kind of fallen in value. How they book it and how they book the person with it is going to tell you a lot about how you're supposed to feel about the championship and how important it is.
Yeah.
And the talent is there to make a really good Intercontinental title chart, or depth chart, if you will. And the same thing with the Divas. They have arguably more talent now between the main roster and NXT than they've ever had.
Hmm.
So it's their ball to drop, because if you give people nothing more than 2-minute matches, then you can't be surprised when they don't get over as a serious wrestling division.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You
Well,
ever go on
so
Wikipedia, look at the history of a certain title, and it'll have a chart of every single, like you're saying, it'll have a chart of every single person who ever won.
yeah.
It's a
Mhm.
real wild. It's a good time kill for any wrestling fans out there. If you're ever at work and you want to do something sneakily over without your boss
Oh,
knowing.
dude, Wikipedia articles about wrestling were how I survived my cubicle life. Let me tell you.
Listen,
Because
go to sporkle.com and you
Yeah,
can take quizzes where they ask you, give me every intercontinental champion in order. I do it at home because I want to be isolated and really be able to concentrate on it. But it's a great challenge. And you go, oh yeah, I forgot that they had the title.
yeah.
yeah.
Pedro Morales. That's right. That's the name I forgot.
All right. Well, let's get into the um. Well, real quick, I just wanted to give a shout to WrestleCon. They just announced the big WrestleCon show, the actual wrestling show that they're doing WrestleMania week is now they're like it's almost sold out. So if anybody's gonna come up, they should definitely it's definitely something to purchase. And I think that would be a good time to do a MBWS meetup if anybody's gonna be there. So if you're gonna be there, hit us up. Go to our website, hit the contact button, or just go to our Facebook page. Let us know because that'd be cool. And I'm still super excited. Um, Jushin Thunder Liger is gonna be there, and now there's rumors that Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe is making his Ring of Honor debut like next week, and so now there's rumors that he's gonna be at some of the indie shows at WrestleMania week, and also there's the big rumor is that Triple H is looking to give him an NXT tryout. But
Yeah, so
I
here.
I don't know if he'll do it right away because right now he's got his prime like he can get the most money he can possibly get for his indie bookings. So maybe he'll just do that for a while
Do you think it would
before.
be better for him to come to WWE now that CM Punk is not there? Since we've already we've seen the big Samoa Joe CM Punk match. Do you
Yeah.
think it's actually maybe a good thing that he's coming now that CM Punk's gone?
I mean, I don't know. I would have liked to see them have that feud in WWE. I mean, on that level of a scale. But I also would worry as to I mean, those matches are some of the best matches like of the recent years. I watched that was I remember the reason I one of the reason I got into I actually did some tape trading like in that and there were still tapes
Yeah.
at that period, and that was the first time I ever did a tape trade was for one of the Joe Punk matches.
Do you remember what you traded?
Um,
Was it No Way Out with Kevin Costner?
Yeah, you duped him.
I actually had
It was
I
me.
had
I had the Samoa Joe tape. I was like, finally, I can see No Way Out. Pull again.
yeah, but actually I had a couple tapes that I had bought at Comic-Con back in like the late 90s. I had some of the King of the Death tournament tapes. Like I had the big one with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack in the main event, and then I had a couple other ones that I had bought for like $10 at Comic-Con back when you could still buy bootleg stuff at Comic-Con. Um, but yeah, so I traded that, and then I found out about that you could actually just download these movies, videos, and stuff. So that was my first and only experience with tape trading. So yeah, so WrestleCon, go to WrestleCon.com. They haven't announced any new matches for the card, but it's pretty stacked. It's a lot of great talent. I'm really excited about Jushin Thunder Liger. Although I I was watching some of the 'cause then I was thinking because I tweeted about like how long I've been watching Jushin Thunder Liger, and I'm like Jushin Thunder Liger is really old for like especially for like a high flyer. And then I watched some of his like newer matches. He's definitely had to tone down his style. So while it might not be like 95 Pillman Liger Jushin Liger, it's still gonna be cool to see Jushin Liger.
Yeah.
Even though it really looks like he's on his last legs, but that's why I'm glad that we get to see him.
Jeez. He's 50.
Yeah, he's 50 years old.
I just looked at myself.
That'd be like if your dad could do a freaking do a moonsault off the top rope. Because like he could have grandkids.
Yeah. It's crazy. Should we talk about the Fastlane card?
Yeah, let's talk about Fastlane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start at the bottom here. So the first match, which we're getting a rematch of at SmackDown.
Great.
Yeah, and I feel like again, as we talked about last week on the preview for this, we've seen this match about a million times in some form or another. Was the six-man tag: Seth Rollins, Kane, Big Show, defeating Dolph Ziggler, Ryback, and Eric Rowan. I actually missed like the finish to this match because I tried to pause on the WWE Network, and apparently you can't do that when it's live. It's not like TiVo.
Huh.
Because I paused it, and then when I hit replay, it like skipped up to where the pay-per-view was. Like it didn't.
What were you doing, Brendo? What was more important to you than wrestling?
What was I doing? I think I had like I got a crock pot and I've been cooking stuff, and I mistimed my crock pot so that it wasn't. I thought it was gonna be ready before the pay-per-view started.
A real fan would have timed it out right.
I tried to. Hey, I'm still new at the crock pot, okay?
Well, the good
And
thing, you won't burn anything with that crock pot. You can probably just leave it running.
It's true.
yeah, that's what I discovered. I'm like, okay, this is probably fine. But
what did you think of this match, though, guys?
Well, I mean, wasn't it? It was just all for Orton returning, right? Like that was kind of the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the heat came off of this a long time ago, very, very long. Like maybe, arguably, before they were fired and brought back, way before that.
Yeah.
So it's gotta like this SmackDown match has to be there's gotta be a blow off for this feud soon because they're all doing different things. Ryback's gonna be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. Presumably that's where Kane and Big Show are gonna be slotted. I don't know what they're gonna do with Rollins, but he and Ziggler are the two most over guys in that match. Like Rowan's one of those guys who he's not a terrible talker. He's not a bad wrestler either, but he's just the crowd is not into him, and that's not necessarily any fault of his, but it just like it just doesn't work anymore, and I think it's gonna threaten to make um, Dolph Ziggler stale. And like you said, Matt, the whole point of the match was for Orton to come back and give all the heels RKO's.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just kind of disappointing. I was glad it was an early match,
Yeah.
so they kind of got it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Didn't
came
like.
back right when Orton was chasing Rollins, and so now, but now, like, after watching Raw, like, I guess they're kind of doing a slow Orton face turn, or maybe
Who
that's gonna.
cares? Jesus Christ!
I don't even know what they're doing. I know you don't care at all about Orton. I just don't want face Orton.
Randy Orton comes on the screen and it's some weird effect. My eyes gloss over. Like I just start hearing like a weird murmur in my ears. I just cannot focus on anything that's happening on the screen when Randy Orton is there.
Well, they need to freshen up his character. It's just been a really long time, and face or heel, he's basically the same guy. So, like, I mean, Cena's basically the same guy too, but he's super over all the time, and you want him. If he were heel, you know it would be different. So that's kind of what drives a lot of fans to want him to turn. With Orton, you're getting the same guy, and he's talented. He can have good matches, but I was kind of the same way. I didn't miss him a ton while he was gone because I wouldn't have known where to put him.
I forgot he existed while he was gone. It was just that's the impression he had on me.
He's Schrodinger's Orton.
Yeah, literally, you can hear it on last week's show. Brendo was like, Orton's been gone for a while. I was like, oh shit, Orton. I forgot he existed.
Yeah.
It's rough. The Dust Brothers, the Dusty Boys. They're up next, though. What do we all think of that match?
Well, I had a quick question for you guys before we move on. Can you guys explain to me why Ryback is so over?
I don't know what happened. It felt like we were just about to get rid of him, and then all of a sudden,
I know.
started.
Did people just forget that he sucked? Like,
You know what? Honestly, his heel turn was never super successful for him, but to his credit, he never stopped acting like he belonged in the main event. So he's like, for a guy who in his promos talks about reading The Secret, he really like lives by that book. He's like super like positive in terms of like whatever his character is, he's gonna do it. He's gonna come out. He's gonna be confident. And all the stuff around Survivor Series, he got white hot, and I was looking at it like he kind of deserves this. And now that he's kind of got this renewed push, but again, they don't have room for him. If you put him in a feud with Rusev, which they did briefly, and they kind of avoided it. Like you're not going to put him over Rusev. Why would you do that? You spent almost a year building Rusev up. So it's like they get him creatively to a point where the crowd's into him, but what's next? And I think that's a big issue that they have in creative right now. And like you said, they're taxed, but you got to have a plan a few months down the road that you can deviate from if you need to, but have a plan. It just feels like there's no plan for him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what's next for him is he injures someone even worse than he did Punk. the way he's been wrestling, the way he wrestles, I mean, I feel like that's kind of inevitable if they're going to keep putting him in.
My one problem with Ryback is I still think the Shell Shock is like the stupidest finisher. It's just a backdrop, but he marches around a little bit. Like, I don't know. Is it because his head is like in their stomach? Does that make it extra? Like, is he like delivering some kind of headbutt thing? Is that why it's is that why it's pun? I just don't understand how that's a finisher. I don't know. I don't normally like.
March. He's showing you how strong he is.
He is really strong.
Right. If you can lift him up and walk him around like that, how much is it going to hurt when you intentionally slam him backwards into the mat? But that being said, there are many finishers that are better.
Yeah. All right. So let's moving on to the Gold Dust Stardust feud. Now, it seems to me like we might finally get our Dustin Cody WrestleMania match. I mean, it seems like that's what this is leading to here.
Yeah, I hate to steal from another podcast, but I don't know if you guys have listened to Jim Ross's podcast, his breakdown. He had Hurricane Helms on, who made a great point about this match, which is it seemed pointless to have Goldust basically be Dustin Rhodes and not come out and try and out crazy Stardust.
Yeah, I was really hoping he was gonna do that. Like I was like, oh, we're gonna get like, yeah, I agree, totally agree with that.
That just,
Yeah,
I mean,
because now he's just Dustin Rhodes in makeup. Like he's not. I don't see what's the angle here. I mean,
exactly. It's a missed opportunity, and Cody Rhodes is a really good wrestler, and he's way into his character, and it's
yeah.
like all the ingredients are there, but it also feels like too little, too late. Does the crowd really care,
Yeah.
or was it just that crowd sucked? Because they were a
Yeah.
pretty bad crowd.
Like crowd was pretty dead the whole time, and I didn't. I which is weird because it was. I mean, it's freaking Memphis. Like I guess Memphis has lost its luster. I don't know for
Yeah.
wrestling.
They wanted Jerry to run into the ring.
Well, it's crazy because I just watched like the other day. I watched a Nitro from Memphis in '96, and when I forgot like how over Jeff Jarrett is in Memphis, because when he came out there, you would have thought it was Hulk Hogan in '85. Like that crowd went crazy for Jeff Jarrett, and then they were going crazy for Jimmy Hart, and he was a heel at the time. Like they love their guys, and I guess if you're not one of their people, they're not interested, I guess.
Yeah. I got a conspiracy theory about why the crowd wasn't into it. So during the kickoff, Booker T talked about eating Memphis ribs, and he was worried how he had sauce on them. We all know Memphis is a dry rub town. Maybe they were upset by that blunder, and it just turned them for the night.
That is a Downton Abbey type conspiracy theory.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I want to talk about the pre-show briefly, just because, and it kind of relates to what I think was the next match on the card. Was the next match Ambrose and Barrett? Do I have that?
It was Tyson and Cesaro against Usos.
All right, I'll save it for the Ambrose and Barrett.
Okay.
And Barrett bit, but it had one of the best. Those pre-shows are really good. People should watch them.
I like the pre-shows.
Yeah, there's so much. The great thing about the WWE Network, despite the fact that they don't have main event, despite the fact that the Raws are whatever it is 6 months behind, is their pre and post show stuff is fantastic.
It's awesome but they stopped. I don't understand why they stopped doing the post show stuff. They really don't do that anymore.
Well, the Rumble one was like a slumber party. Everybody was just like The Rock couldn't make his promo.
Oh my god, that was so like, oh my god. At what point do you just be like, all right, cut it, we're done? Like,
but
I missed the post, those like press conference style ones they were doing for a few pay-per-views. Those were the best. Like, because I just remember there were a few times where the Shield, like Ambrose, that was when I learned to love Dean Ambrose, because I was just like, this guy is just doing whatever he feels like doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it does give me a little bit of hope, because I'm glad Corey Graves is really good at what he's doing.
Fantastic. Really,
and I'm glad that they managed to discover that talent, because I'm hoping maybe it'll make Alex Riley go away.
Yeah, I was just about to say. At least in this one, he replaced Alex Riley.
I'm not an Alex Riley fan.
Yeah. How do you feel about Hal? Because I think it's pretty clear where Brendo and I posted.
I like him on NXT. I think he's okay. I like David Otunga too. They have they have this sort of slate of guys who are decent talkers and pretty good analysts. I think Corey Graves is pretty good among them. You could probably pop him up to Raw or SmackDown or even main event now, and he would swim just fine.
Yeah, definitely.
I really just to talk about the announced teams for a second. Michael Cole is not a bad. He's not a terrible announcer, but he's not really doing anything to sell the matches. I think JBL is the best guy
I
on the
love
Raw commentary.
JBL. I
Yeah,
think he's
I
great.
definitely agree with that.
I just, I wish. I don't think it's their fault that because they just get fed of most of what they have to talk about and stuff.
Sure.
Some of the things that
And
the
that's the
people
thing.
blame them for, I don't think it's their fault. I I do think
That's
that. Sorry, Benson, go ahead.
Well, I think Michael Cole is just he's a real company man. I think he gets fed this stuff, and I don't think he really tries to go off script as much as some other might, because I think he has a job that he's going to do, and that's what they tell him to say, so that's what he's going to say.
Yeah,
That's the feeling I
That's
usually get
fair.
of him.
I just it's weird because like on even on NXT it's such a different world where because they're actually talking about they put over everybody in NXT. Like I feel like because of the announcers, I buy what are those two dudes' names that are the tag team champions right now? Like they were jobbers. The
Kid and Cesaro?
no, sorry, in NXT,
Oh,
the
oh,
NXT tag team champions,
oh my,
Buddy something and
exactly. Can't
Buddy
remember their
Murphy and
names.
this other dude, and like, but part of the reason why I would say 50% of the reason why they're like they actually work is because the announcers put them over from the beginning. Even when they were jobbers, they're like, these guys have a lot of potential, and here's why. And like, you got Jason Albert like talking about how I see these guys in the performance center, they're the hardest working guys, and like Corey Graves is like, yeah, when I was in the ring with them, they're really good, and like. And whereas if this had been on SmackDown, you'd have JBL going, "Who are these clowns? What are these guys' names, Michael?" Like, and like, well, that's funny. Like, if everybody's doing it, like that's just. Shit, sorry.
Very unprofessional, Brendo.
Yeah.
Ashamed of
Sorry, I thought I turned it. I got
Is that your crockpot calling?
you.
yes.
Sick burn.
It's telling me like the barbecue is burning, Brendo.
Yeah.
But so I just feel like I feel like half the reason why the Ascension aren't over is because the announcers. I get that you can have JBL burying people. I feel like that's appropriate. But when everybody like nobody's putting them over. Sorry, Benson, you broke up there. What?
Oh, I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
I feel
agree.
like half the problem with the Ascension is that they're getting buried every time they go out there.
They could work a little bit. I don't know if stiffer is the word. They could work a little bit more snug.
Yeah.
Because when they beat down, like I love the Fall of Man. I think it's a really cool
It
finish.
reminds me of the Total Elimination, which is my favorite tag team move like ever.
Yeah. But when they beat down on a guy, it looks like they are fake beating down on a guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean
they need to be brutal.
yeah. Especially if they're trying to be on like a Road Warriors level. Like you watch those guys, the reason why the Road Warriors were just because they were stiff as fuck.
Yep.
Like they were just beating. They were just like when you watch Animal like chopping a dude, like you were just like that guy is gonna have some bruises in the morning. And yeah, a lot of people didn't like to work with them because of that. But that's also what made them who they were. Like they were the guys like you. I just remember as a kid, like I was terrified because like those guys just they were fierce and they beat the crap out of people. And I get that that's what they're trying to do with the Ascension, but yeah, you're right. They do have a little bit to go as far as their work rate, but then. So yeah, we'll see what's gonna. Then now they got the Lucha Dragons coming over, and they had a really good match on main event. Was it main event or SmackDown? I think it was main event just this past week with Cesaro and Kid. Like it was a really good match. It was a 15-minute. Like they had control most of the time, and it was a good finish. And so that and makes me happy to see those kind of things happening. Just then, I'll be mystified when the Lucha Dragons get buried in a few weeks. I don't. I mean, I don't want to be cynical, but
Speaking of Cesaro and Kid,
Yeah.
they are. I love them as a team.
they're my favorite.
Yes.
They're amazing. Yeah, let's talk about this match. So yeah,
They're two great wrestlers. Neither of whom was over particularly. At the time they were put together, and sometimes teams like that feel more transitional, but it feels like creative, and those two guys have sort of gone all in on it. And I think they should call themselves the Brass Ring Society. That's just me.
Yeah, they had those shirts they wore like one match, and then
Yeah.
I wonder if I wonder whose idea that was, because it seemed like one, it was I don't think those were official WWE shirts, because they're basically ripping off Bullet Club shirts, and I think they maybe made those themselves. I don't know, but they were
It's
awesome.
totally possible. But like they're really the chemistry that they have as a team
Yeah,
is pretty sick
it's phenomenal. And I
the
love their like joke, like they're like bromance kind of thing they got
yeah.
going on, and
Yeah, and it gives two divas something to do also. Two
yeah,
really talented divas. So it's nice to have like the Usos are who were their opponents at Fastlane. In case you haven't seen it, people listening, the Usos are a great tag team. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're going to be a top of the card kind of team. It makes sense. They don't really need the titles right now,
yeah,
so to give it to those guys and let them run with it, I would really be excited to see where they go. And I know that feud is not necessarily over, but for like a first match, it was great. There was nothing in it that I didn't feel like there was anything missing. Probably could have been a little bit longer.
yeah. Yeah, them giving. This was my first. This is where I got into the card, because I was like, oh wow, they gave the titles. They're actually, because with some of these teams that they put together, you never know how long they're gonna last. Because you got your Slater Gators, you got your other, you
I
got
miss Slater Gator.
got your Rybaxels, you got like those kind of teams, and like,
Yeah.
I'm like, so are Cesaro and Kid just another team that they're throwing together? Or are they actually gonna do something with these guys? And when and so seeing them win the titles kind of really perked me up, and it was a great match. So this is what I was on board with the show. And
Yeah.
then then that leads us into Bad News Barrett defeating Dean Ambrose via DQ
Yeah.
to retain the Intercontinental Championship. So I think they're stretching this out, it seems like. But now I don't know what they're doing with the Intercontinental Championship. I feel like they're leading to a four-way match at WrestleMania.
For sure.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
not,
And I read some SmackDown spoilers just to prepare for this show, because people are acting like Daniel Bryan's career is over, which to me seems like an overreaction. Like, I read this, everybody's posting this article from Dave Meltzer where he basically, like, it's almost like a eulogy for Daniel Bryan, and I'm like, Jesus, like, I mean, I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but I also I feel like the nature of the business tells us that anything can happen between. I mean, if nobody could have predicted that. I mean, Daniel Bryan basically willed himself into the main event last year, WrestleMania. So for somebody that is capable of doing that, I will never be like, oh, that's it for Daniel Bryan. He's going to be in the mid card forever now. But that's like, I feel like everything I read right now, that's basically, the internet has agreed that that's what it is. And I don't agree. I don't. Maybe that's just me being too optimistic, but I also just have you actually watched wrestling? You can't make that kind of judgment. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, of
But
course.
so basically, what happened on SmackDown is Daniel Bryan beat Bad News Barrett, and seems to now he's going to be in the Intercontinental picture. So now it looks like you have. So now we were talking about the prestige of the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championships. Now you have a situation where Cena is competing for the U.S. title. Bryan is in the Intercontinental picture. Is that them trying to boost the title, or is that like this is a good place for these guys to go over here while we shoot Reigns to the moon? I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say about the pre-show,
I was going to ask
now.
you what was that. Yeah.
There was a great interview. It was Renee Young and Dean Ambrose, where she was interviewing about the Intercontinental title. And he spent the entire interview putting the title over and saying how important it was and how important it was to him. And because he's so over, it makes the title seem important. If you put that title on Daniel Bryan, it becomes more important. John Cena caring about the U.S. title makes that title important. So even if those are the places where they're slotted right now, it makes total sense. I wouldn't mind seeing Daniel Bryan feud for the IC title for a while. I mean, Jericho popped up and down between the world title and the IC belt.
Yeah. I remember, like his matches with Mysterio over the IC belt were some of their best.
Yeah.
That was like their best feud, and you had guys like that is. I feel like that maybe they're returning to that where that's the kind of spot that is instead of. It seems like the last couple of years they just had no idea. Remember when Dean Ambrose had the U.S. title?
Yeah, and he never defended it.
And he defended it like 3 times. Benson and I saw one of his defenses live. One of his 3 defenses the whole time he had the belt.
Yeah, I mean it's but like now they're making them important again. Like you care, and partially that's because the world title's not on. Like you almost forget that there's a world champion, which is not good. But these other belts are important, and I actually really enjoyed the match. I liked the ending, but again, it goes back to the thing. This is just a table setter for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You knew that the feud wasn't going to end no matter what happened. I love Dean Ambrose stealing the title.
Yeah, that was awesome. The whole forcing him into signing, that whole thing was awesome.
Yeah.
Just Ambrose is so over right now, and that's where I'm glad that they're giving him stuff to do because I feel like there was a minute where I was really concerned that I'm like they're just gonna let this go to waste, because he seemed like there was a minute where he was at the main event. I thought they were kicking him off for a Cena feud or something, and then he kept getting pudged down, and I'm like, what are they doing? He's so over because every time, that was one of the things that I would look forward to on some of these Raws that have been such a mess. Is Ambrose is going to come out and do some crazy shit, and the crowd's going to go crazy. And so I'm glad that they're at least, hopefully, going to keep running with him. He's so over right now. It's weird when they don't acknowledge that. I don't know.
Yeah, I love Barrett as a heel. I actually wish they put him on the mic a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
his bad news stuff is great, and he hasn't. The fact that he didn't come to the ring and give and lead off with it. I've got a bad news for you. The fact that he didn't do that was kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah.
But it was for what it was. It was okay. It wasn't great.
All right. Well, then we had again the bathroom break match, which is unfortunate, but they got Nikki Bella defeating Paige via pinfall to retain the Divas title. And I agree with you about Nikki Bella, but I don't. In a world where Paige exists, how does Nikki Bella just be so dominant? I don't understand.
Yeah, it should be about her. She should be like the heel CM Punk, where she would cheat and do anything it takes to hold on to the title because that's more important than anything. But they play, they're building her up because she probably, she's not a gigantic girl, but they're tall. The Bellas are fairly tall, so she can get away with being sort of the monster heel in the division. That being said, that's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily fit her. I would have liked to have seen more cheating, especially since she's got Brie with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it also goes back to the way they resolved the Brie Nikki feud was very lackluster.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, they're not mad at each other anymore, even though that could have been a really good feud, and it just kind of fizzled out. It started off, you had those crazy promos with they brought in their brother and all that super that stuff, and then it just went to she. I mean, I get that they did a callback to WrestleMania 28, but they didn't really mention that that's what that was, and it just kind of moved on.
They did that on a Raw, didn't they? They didn't do it at a pay-per-view.
Oh, when she kissed AJ, isn't that how AJ lost the belt, or was I'm not remembering that?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was.
because she
Yeah,
kissed
I remember
AJ
she
because
kissed AJ,
AJ kissed
kissed
Daniel
Daniel
Bryan.
Bryan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That I remember
But
that. I
so
remember
that they
that.
kind of did that. So I guess that's but then that still doesn't explain why Nick like breathes all of a sudden like, oh, I like my sister now.
Well,
No, they
Like,
didn't explain it. They just said, well, she likes her now. Deal
well,
with
that
it.
because she was like
that
her slave for like 30 days, and then she was just on her team. So I guess is it Stockholm syndrome? Is that what happened? Like,
that has to be it. The funny thing is, the feud between the two of them sucked the heat out of maybe the hottest feud of the summer, which was Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon.
yeah, exactly.
So
What a,
they blew that off too early, I think.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on to what I was really impressed with this match was the Rusev defeating John Cena via ref stoppage.
yeah.
Yeah, great match.
It was a really good match. Like
It's all shot.
this is where people like the Cena haters. I just don't see how you can like he was great in that match, and he made Rusev look like $1,000,000.
Yeah, and Rusev did the same for him. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
Rusev is a great sell. Like he can sell like nobody's biz.
Yeah.
yeah, and he plays that unstoppable monster really like it. Just if he loses at WrestleMania, it makes perfect sense, and
Mhm.
they did everything they needed to do to set it up. And like
Yeah.
you said, so many people hate John Cena, but the guy doesn't have bad matches.
No, I don't think he does, and that's where for me the turning point on Cena was I know it took Benson a lot longer, but the turning point for me
I
was
was haters for a while. I'll admit I've turned around.
but for me it was the Punk Cena match before WrestleMania 29, which was that was like the match of the year that year on Raw.
hmm
And then that was actually our first MVWS argument. Was I was Vincent tried to say that Cena Hurricane Rana was like the weakest Hurricane
Well,
Rana
I
ever.
stand by that. That Hurricane Rana looked like garbage.
I
The
just
match
watched
was
it again.
good.
It's not that
I'll-
bad. He tried really hard.
I tried really. I could try really hard. It wouldn't make it a good Hurricane Rana.
I think that's. I
100%
think he was
stand
just.
by my original statements
Hey,
there.
I just give him props for trying it because I think that was him clearly trying to say something to the 5 moves of Doom people. Like, hey, come on. I mean,
You're
I
gonna
don't
turn
know.
me back around. You reminded me now. Maybe I'll go back to my Cena hate after that.
Well, then it was the Cena Bryan match, which we were
That was
fortunate.
great. Yeah.
We watched that live, and that was a phenomenal match. And
hmm
for me, I was like, okay, I understand why Cena is who he is and where he is, and then his promos. That promo he did with Heyman before SummerSlam this past year was one of the best promos I've seen him do ever.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of good promos, and so I have all the respect for Cena. But in this match especially, I think it did a great again as we pointed out many times, it set the stage for the WrestleMania match.
Yeah, but it
And
was great in its own right.
yeah,
And I love he's such a great heel. Rusev is, and I actually just to go back for a second to Bad News Barrett and Dean Ambrose. One of the great touches that Barrett has as a heel, especially in that match, was his continuing attempts to escape the
yes,
ring. Like when two guys tell a story, even if the match isn't great, it definitely elevates it. And everything, all the little things that Rusev and Cena did in this match helped to elevate it. And the fact that he had to cheat to win,
hmm
I mean, it's ref stoppage, but really it's because he kicked him in the balls and then put him back in the accolade. Like all of that stuff, him trying to escape the hold was, it was just great. All the reversals, they
Yeah.
really like pulled out all the stops.
definitely. Which leads us into our final match, which again I mean the purpose of this match was to it's I guess try to quell the uprising, but Roman Reigns defeated Daniel Bryan clean pinfall, no interference. Like I was really worried. Oh, we just lost Benson. Well, he'll be back. Oh, hold on, I gotta change this. But I was really worried that there was gonna be some corporate BS, like
Mhm.
some authority thing or something. Oh wait, I forgot. We didn't. I guess we should talk about. I guess it's not on here because it really wasn't a match. I just pasted the results, but the
Oh,
Sting. I guess we should talk about the Sting Triple H confrontation.
yes.
Yeah, I was gone
And the
for a
Bray
second, but
Wyatt
okay.
promo.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Okay, sorry, I should have gone for some more detailed results. Let's talk about that first.
Can
So
you hear me?
yes,
Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I talked over Hal for a second by mistake, and then it wasn't addressed. So I apologize for talking over you, and I'm glad you can hear me. The
um,
Hangouts app had crashed. I had to relaunch. So I was
yeah.
having difficulties on my end.
So let's talk about the Undertaker thing. So unannounced, like I was not expecting. For a minute, I thought. I think for everybody thought for a minute it was the Undertaker
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming out. And so but then when the casket came out, I'm like, oh my God, Bray Wyatt's gonna be in that casket and he's gonna pop out and it's gonna be awesome. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too.
I had the same thought you did. I was like, wow, they're bringing out the Undertaker to address Bray Wyatt. We're gonna get this settled. And then when they wheeled up the coffin, and it looked like a shoebox.
Yeah,
I was like,
because
oh,
I was like, there's no
there's
way
that's the
Undertaker's in there. There is
No
no
way.
way.
But it was great. I mean, he this is one of those matches that it looks like they're kind of throwing together a little bit. And I
Yeah.
know he's been throwing cutting these sort of nondescript promos that could have been the Undertaker, could not have been the Undertaker, but ever since he started feuding with Dean Ambrose, it's really kind of elevated him. And then the Rumble, he was great in the Rumble. Like, they've been building him towards this, and it's a great,
Yeah.
like, logical next step. This is months of building this up. This is what
When he
they need
started
more
doing
of.
those promos at the Rumble, that's why I was because the last time I'd seen anybody do that was CM Punk. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I wish he had done it a little bit more because like he eliminated Daniel Bryan, like he was, and it just kind of happened, and they didn't really make it a thing, which is a bummer. But
Yeah.
I think I like the way they're developing this match. I mean, I think it would be cool if we don't even see Undertaker till WrestleMania. I like that they're kind of, because I think this is their way of, because, I don't know, I follow Michelle McCool on Instagram,
Mhm.
and she posted a video, I guess they were doing some charity thing, and it was her and Undertaker, and Undertaker is in great shape again. Like, I don't know how he does it, but I don't know. I
He
feel like
gets help from Satan, Brendo.
Yeah.
I think he has a Lazarus pit in his backyard or something. Because every year this is the cycle. This is the Undertaker cycle every year. Around November, December, you start seeing these pictures of him that look like he is a walking
Garbage.
corpse.
Yeah.
Like he just, and then everybody's like, oh, he's not wrestling this year, and then he magically like appears and he's and
Yeah, well, he lays down, and then he sits up, and then he's Undertaker again.
So, but this video with him and Michelle McCool, it looked like, I mean, he looks better than he did last year. So I think he's been training hard. It's pretty obvious that he's been training real hard, and I think his goal is, as I said last week, I think he's going to do this match, and I think he's going to do one more in Texas, because WrestleMania is in Texas next year, and I think there's some significance to that because Undertaker is a very proud Texan, and
Sure.
he has said on the record he wants to retire. He wants his last match to be in Texas.
He's gonna bring back the American Badass for the Texas match. Go out.
He comes out with Fred Durst.
Yep.
In a sidecar.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I was watching some videos from the old SmackDown games because I had vaguely remembered that in one of them you could actually play as Fred Durst. He was like a hidden character.
Yep.
And I was like, did I make that up in my head? And then I looked on YouTube. Nope. No, I did not. I
Was
think it was one of the PS2 games.
Was it SmackDown Know Your Role?
Yeah, I think so.
And you could also pick up an entire motorcycle by the rear wheel and swing it at people.
Yes.
Now, let
Just
me
like in
ask you
real life.
something. Let me ask you something, Hal. I pitched this scenario to Brendo last week, and we're going a little long. I don't want to get too long, but I do want to give you this
Okay,
hypothetical.
go ahead.
Okay, so let's say WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania next year. This is in Texas. You're there. It's gonna be Undertaker versus Ryback, and the word is going around. I'm gonna add a little to it that I didn't give Brendo last week. Word is going around that it's gonna end with Ryback doing a pile driver on Undertaker. You're at a bar. You overhear Ryback bragging about how he doesn't even need to practice. He's never practiced pile driver. Doesn't need to rehearse. You're certain that there's like a 90% chance Undertaker will die if he gets into that ring. What do you do to try to prevent this match from happening?
I mean, you've set up. This is a real. This is a horrendous scenario. I
Yeah.
feel like if they book that match, they probably want him to die. He probably has done something horrible. They've discovered some skeleton in his closet.
Something awful.
And this is their Of Mice and Men. Don't you look at the rabbit? Pet the rabbit.
So are you
Mark.
saying that you then let it happen because you feel like it has been set up for that?
Yeah, but my favorite part of this is Ryback in a bar bragging about how he doesn't need to practice.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be something that he does, though.
I think through the power of
No,
positive
he's probably at his house reading The Secret and
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah,
doing whatever.
he's moved on to the Four
Yeah.
Agreements.
All he has to do is believe that he can do the pile driver, and then he
Yes.
will. But Brendo and I agreed that we would need to kneecap Undertaker to make sure he was too injured to participate.
By which
That
you
was
mean
our plan.
just touch his kneecap and it would shatter on its own?
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
But then we were worried about, like, what if he managed to get a hold of one of
Like, what
us?
if he just grabs
yeah.
us?
Because he's still the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
like,
he wants to participate in this match.
Yeah, he probably would kill you. Die in the process. But is your life worth more or less than the Undertaker's? That's the big
That's what we have
question.
to ask
that was also where the discussion led.
Yeah. What?
I went to an Undertaker signing when I was 17, and I was terrified the whole time because he is a big, scary biker dude surrounded by his security guards are bikers, so it's just like it's just a lot of bikers, and you're just like, this is kind of scary.
This is the one where he's at you too.
Well, I had my Sharpie had like run out of ink, and I don't know if he was trying to be in character or what, but he like threw it at me. But then he's like, I have one here you can use. But he was nice, but he still threw my Sharpie back at me.
Maybe he was playing with you.
I think he was, but it's still this because I just this big tatted dude. Like, there's I don't know. I was just like, thank you, Tina Belcher, kind of like. But yeah, so I was excited. I'm excited. I think it'll be cool. Probably my right behind Daniel Bryan winning the championship mark-out moment in WrestleMania was just the Undertaker entrance. So Benson, you're in for a real treat, like a full-on Undertaker entrance at WrestleMania. They're always awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And hopefully he won't die.
Yeah.
On
that note, should we do some plugs and get out of here?
Well, just real quick before we get out of here, let's discuss. I mean, we talked about it for.
Right? We have Daniel Bryan and we have the Sting Triple
Yeah,
H.
we have two more.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't want to keep Hal till I know we said now.
We'll plug nothing. We have to get through this card.
Okay, I like this attitude. I like
Okay, so Sting Triple H. I mean, I love Sting. Benson witnessed my Sting mark out at Comic-Con where I basically screamed like a girl for about 10
when Sting
minutes.
came out at the Mattel panel, Brendo lost his goddamn mind. He was so happy to be in there.
I was just so because the last time I was at a Nitro in '97 where Sting came down from the rafters, and that was the craziest, the biggest. Like, they talk about it on the vignette that they did. Like, I think it was Booker T or Diamond Dallas Page is talking about how it got to a point where anything Sting did, the crowd would just go freaking crazy. Like, all he had to do at Nitro was just appear, And the crowd, because you had that Tony Schiavone like, it's Sting, and like just, I just remember he didn't do anything, and he would just go ape shit. Like I think at the Nitro that I was at, he came down from the ceiling, he pointed his bat at people, and that's all he did. And you would have thought that like, just it was the moonlight, like people were going crazy. And so that's I don't know, just
that's the energy you brought to
that's the
Mattel
energy
panel.
that I brought. And that's why I'm excited for this match. I'm excited to see Sting. I know he's a little old, but he's been training for this match for a year. He's known for a year that it's going to happen. So I think if he's got one left in him, this is about as good of a match as we can get, because I've come to terms with the fact that if he wrestled with The Undertaker, one or both of them may have died, and they probably would have blown up about halfway through the match.
Yeah.
You can't have two hobbly old dudes in the ring. Like, you got to have at least... Like, Triple H is in good shape, and I think he can, when need be, he'll carry that match, if need be. And so I think... I also like the fact that Sting hasn't talked yet. I like it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I wish there had been a little bit more in terms of theatrics when he came to the ring.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that he set up. But I get that with the Undertaker Bray Wyatt segment, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense for him to do the same thing and just have it be like guys in big foam scorpion outfits lining the ramp.
Yeah, because I don't normally reply to like Reddit threads just because it seems pointless to me, but they were talking about how does Sting not come down for the rafters? I'm like, nobody is ever gonna come down from the rafters ever again.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, that's never going to happen ever. And if you don't know why, then or you don't agree, then I'm sorry, it's never gonna happen. So I've come to terms with that also.
Yep.
As cool as it was, like that would be completely inappropriate, and I mean, Sting himself has said he would never do that ever. Like, it would never happen. So, but I still think they'll probably do some cool entrance. Also, watching some of the old Sting clips, like, did they make a deal with New Line or something? Because there's times where his makeup is straight up the Crow. Like, do they have a copyright? I don't know. Can you copyright a makeup style? I don't know.
I'm sure if you can, Gene Simmons has already done it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But because I think when they first did it, he was straight up Crow, and then they kind of dialed it back a little bit. Because I watched the Nitro where he first came out in the paint, and it was straight up, he is the Crow, and then they made it more like streaks.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just excited for it. It made me excited for the match. So I think it did what it was supposed to do. Now, could it have been done? Did it need to take up a pay-per-view slot? I don't know. I mean, I guess that was them trying to increase interest in Fastlane.
And in the network.
Yeah.
Oh, Sting showed up. I better, I've been watching the network for free, or I better get the network.
Yeah.
It builds interest, so it makes sense from a marketing standpoint, at least.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally the match this was the main event. Roman Reigns defeats Daniel Bryan via pinfall clean, and I was that was the thing I was most grateful for, that there was no shoddy finish, there was no interference. It's gotten so old with the Authority interfering in everything, so I was glad that didn't happen. What did you guys think?
Between the match and then Daniel Bryan the next night on Raw talking about Roman Reigns.
The next night on Raw, that was between Paul Heyman and Daniel Bryan. That was even for me, that was a little too much.
But I do feel like it's nice that they're making a legitimate effort to put over Reigns.
Yeah.
They kind of botched.
But at some point, I'm like, okay, guys, okay.
After Daniel Bryan, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, after Daniel Bryan's speech, the crowd clearly still wasn't quite sure, so that's why you need to double tap that. Bring out Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and then to finally bring it home when they had like Roman Reigns let Daniel Bryan, that whole thing at the end of the tag match, and then he smiled, and they like instead
Right,
of
that was a bit much. That's what crossed the line for me. That was
I
a bit
feel like
much.
that was almost again like that was they really push.
I they definitely are doing everything they can to get Reigns over, but I have to say that match was uh, there's I don't know what else they could have done to make that
Yeah,
match any better.
yeah, they
Both
really
guys, like the story of it was great with Bryan, with Bryan going in just straight up saying, "I'm a better wrestler than you. I'm smarter than you are. I don't care how big you are. I'm going to beat you." And then Reigns just being a powerhouse. They both made each other look like $1,000,000, and it's
Yeah,
Reigns like by far the best singles match Reigns has had.
yeah definitely like
I agree
um
with that.
it made me it made me go back and because I thought that because he had a match with Randy Orton at SummerSlam last year that I thought was all right. That they made that match look terrible. Like
It did, and part of that is Reigns. Like I actually
he's
came out of it.
improved a lot.
Yeah, I came out of it thinking like, oh, he and Brock Lesnar are actually gonna have a decent match,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
like just to armchair book this, what I would do is keep them sort of orbiting one another, Bryan and Reigns, and then turn Reigns heel, and after Brock Lesnar drops the title, have Reigns cheat to win, and then put him with Heyman. Have Heyman ditch
it's not
Lesnar
bad.
to go with Reigns, and then have Reigns and Bryan feud over the summer and have him chase the title.
yeah. I that would be my situation. I feel like as we talked about last week, I think we're gonna. What do you think's gonna happen with? Where does Rollins fit into all this with the money in with the briefcase? Is that
Oh,
gonna be the summer feud? Like I don't know.
I forgot. What I really wanted to have happen was have Reigns win and then have Rollins immediately cash in on him.
Here's what I hope happens. I hope that that's what happens because I feel
Yeah,
like the crowd. I think it's the swerve that they need to end that show on on a less predictable note, and then going into Monday Night Raw having Reigns being the one chasing the title.
yeah,
That could be how they really put this over because again, it's very clear to me that Vince is all in with Reigns, and I think my theory on the reason why is because the whole reason the whole reason Undertaker lost the streak was to set this up. And I think Vince is like I did this and I needed to make it count. And also, I mean, he's a very it's also a lot of hubris
Hmm.
on his part that like I know best. And but I think the big thing is like for the sake of Taker like making this worth something to turn in like that's why I knew he wasn't going to just abandon Reigns because there's too much invested in this. So, but I would like to see some kind of surprise. I feel like at this point, I mean, not that it's bad that the ending is a foregone conclusion, especially the way they're booking things. Like I would like to see some kind of surprise at WrestleMania like that. Nobody's ever cashed in at WrestleMania. It would be pretty cool.
And Rollins is the best heel in the company, hands
Oh my
down.
God! That's I mean if that's one thing they have been doing right, it's him. Like he's an amazing heel.
Yeah.
He's got tons of heat. Everything well, as soon as he's a heat magnet for when he put him involved in something.
Yep.
So, um, I think that's I think there's a reason why they haven't pulled the trigger on Reigns Rollins yet is because I think they want to save it for a main event title feud. So I don't know. One can hope we can. I mean, I just I don't know. I would I don't I like WrestleMania so much and I like wrestling so much that I don't want to see like a I just would be bummed if people were bummed at the end of WrestleMania. Like it was just like, oh, well, that was I don't know. I'm I guess I'm a mark in that sense that I want it to be a fun show and a good show just because I like it so much. I don't know.
Sure.
Also, we're
W-
gonna be there, and Benson and I will never forget the feeling of leaving SummerSlam when Orton cashed in, and just that feeling when the whole crowd just is just pissed off. Like,
mad. Just heavy malaise over the entire crowd leaving
I
the
don't.
Staples Center.
That was like, it was so palpable. It was like, wow, that happened.
Yeah.
One more thing, not related to the main event, but also from the pre-show, because it's another build for a match that's not going to happen at WrestleMania. But I
Yeah.
think smartly won't, which was the Miz TV segment
Yeah.
with Paul Heyman. The Mizdow, like it's at times it's felt like Ross and Rachel, like those first two seasons of Friends. The will they, won't they, and you get to a point with those where you're like, just pull the trigger already.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to their credit, to creative's credit, and to both guys' credit, they continue to build. And Miz is a fantastic heel, and the way that they continue to play it, if for people who are listening who didn't see it, basically he comes out, he talks down the Miz, makes him sit in the corner, and makes him sit and face the corner turnbuckle. Like, just the amount of humiliation, and every time you see that look on Mizdow's face, like, this is going to be the time I clock him,
like, it's gonna happen.
and finally
It's gonna
strike
happen.
out.
Yeah.
And I think probably that my prediction is that Mizdow will eliminate Miz mistakenly from the Battle Royale,
I
and
think
that's
it's
gonna.
definitely going to be the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
So my last question before we wrap things up here, I was thinking about this today. How do you sell the Battle Royal as something legitimate when the previous year's winner like immediately got buried after winning it? And then I thought about this: is the Andre the Giant Battle Royal this year a vehicle for putting over heel Sheamus?
Oh, that's a good. I think they're probably going to put heel Sheamus with Bryan if they don't stick him with the IC title match. But
Are we gonna? Is this still happening? The possible Bryan Sheamus match? Like, I feel like this has been like something every year. Sheamus Bryan. Well, it was gonna be last year until Daniel Bryan again willed himself into the main event. But I don't know. What are you guys? What are your guys' thoughts on Sheamus?
I like him.
He's improved since he started. I don't think he's all the way there still. He's definitely a lot better than when he started. He's I don't know.
I like heel Sheamus. I like Sheamus overall, but I think heel Sheamus, that could definitely be something.
There's something there, definitely.
For sure.
I feel like they need some kind of thing to happen at that Battle Royal to kind of re-emphasize its importance, because right now I think people are like, oh yeah, that happened, and then Cesaro won, and then he had that, like, I watched that Raw after WrestleMania 30 again, and he was so over, like, so, that was when they were singing along, I was there, we were singing along to the song, like, we were doing the thing, like, it was just crazy, and then it seemed like after that it was just continuous downward spiral. But at least now he's kind of recovered from that, but I feel like I really hope that they can do something cool at the Battle Royal because I think it's a good idea. It at least lets them use everybody. It gives more people a chance to do things, and they can hopefully use it to develop some storylines. Like you said, the Mizdow thing. I hope that that's where something happens.
Yeah.
So going into WrestleMania, what's your guys' outlook? Are you feeling good? Feeling pretty good?
I'm excited. I know they're gonna throw a lot of stuff together, but I think they still have enough time to build a decent show, and I think ultimately it's gonna be a fun one to watch. I think there are gonna be some really good matches at the top and middle of the card.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
I think there's a good chance it'll be spotty, but I think the parts that are good are going to be really good. I think it's going to hit some highs. They're going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. On that note, I think Hal, thank you for being with us on the show. Any last plugs or anything else you would like to discuss?
Sure. I'll plug 4 things, but I'll do it quickly.
Okay.
If you do not listen to the Thrilling Adventure Hour or Welcome to Night Vale, you should subscribe to those on iTunes. And there's, like I said, there's some fun Thrilling Adventure Hour stuff coming up. So go to thrillingadventurehour.com for it. New comic book has just been released. The Sparks Nevada issue 1 is out,
I've
and
got mine sitting right next to me
issue
right
1 is
now.
coming out. It's a great comic book, right?
I'll agree. Yeah, it's amazing.
2 more things. One is I have a channel with a friend of mine named Len Peralta, and it's youtube.com/unimationfilms with a U instead of an A at the beginning. And they're fun little improvised pieces of art that we do together. And Mark Gagliardi from the Thrilling Adventure Hour and I have started our own podcast. We just recorded episode 1, and that's going to be coming out soon.
I like some of that.
Look for We Got This is the name of it, and look for it on iTunes soon.
Nice.
It should be on there soon.
Awesome. Well, as always, thank you for being on the show. Hopefully we can have you on again post WrestleMania.
I would love it, please.
Are tickets still available to any of the live dates for the Thrilling Adventure Hour or Night Vale?
Night Vale, there are still tickets available, specifically for Philadelphia. I think there are still some left, so I'd love for that to sell out. And again, if you sign up for the newsletter and follow us on Twitter at ThrillingADV and on Facebook, that's the best way to know when tickets are available. Because I think right now we're sold out, but they do hold back some groups of tickets and release them to fans through those channels.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get some through those channels.
Sweet.
Yeah. But I'll definitely vouch for those. I've been to Night Vale, Thrilling Adventure Hour, and the Crossover, and I can say they were all great shows. So I'll definitely vouch for those. Everyone should go be seeing those if they have the chance.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And you can check us out, mbwspod.com. We are at mbwspodcast on Twitter. BenviewNetwork.com. Benson, we got some new shows.
Yeah, new shows. Grissom on the Run sports show about the Atlanta Braves, hosted by our friend Matt Esposito from Nerd's Eye View. And Dinner Party Small Talk, which is a really excellent sketch comedy show. They do sketches, characters, lots of fun stuff. Check those out at BenviewNetwork.com, as well as all the shows that I host on there. You know the ones I say them every time.
Yeah. We got Popsicles. We got Radio Brendo Man. We're going to be recording a Radio Brendo Man. Hopefully, we're going to record it we're going to be at Long Beach Comic Expo on Sunday. If anybody's going to be there, we're going to be hanging out there. So if you see us, we'll give you stickers. And I think we're going to try and get Derek to be on the show. So probably didn't do Radio Brendo Man with Derek Armijo. This fall goes well this weekend. And I think that's it. I'm at Brendo Man on Twitter.
At Dr. Matt Benson.
With a DR. And then, again, if you're going to be in the Bay Area for WrestleMania, let us know on Facebook. I posted a link to WrestleCon on the Facebook page. Also, check out WWN Live for the Evolve events. We're going to be at those. They just announced a main event, second main event match. This is breaking news. Hold on, gotta find the page now. They just announced, and I accidentally closed it.
Oh boy!
But it's gonna be AR Fox versus Johnny Gargano.
Oh, nice.
In the secondary main event. The primary main event is Drew Galloway, Drew McIntyre against PJ Black, also known as Justin Gabriel. So that's going to be awesome. And if you guys are going to be there, let us know because we'll be there. And I think that's going to do it. So for Matt Brendo's Wrestling Show, one more time, thank you for being on, Hal. And I'm Brendan Creasy.
Matt Benson.
And have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time. All right.